Hi, my name is Zach Hetherington, and in this video I'm going to be talking about SQL injection, particularly about whether SQL injection can be used to gain the contents inside a database. So what is SQL injection? Well, first you need to understand what SQL is. SQL is a programming language that is used for databases. It is used to create and maintain these databases. There are commands available to create databases, tables, queries, etc., to insert entries into the tables, to delete entries or entire tables, and also query the database for information you might be looking for. It is one of the most common languages used for constructing and maintaining databases. So what is SQL injection? SQL injection is an attack that takes advantage of SQL-based databases. SQL injection occurs when an SQL command is inserted into a field on a web page. The command is then sent to the database, and the database will then execute the command along with the usual query or instead of the usual query. These commands can cause the database to reveal its contents, pass authorization, drop its table, or insert new values, or basically any other thing that you can make a database use with SQL code. So where does this vulnerability come from? It comes from SQL databases being code-based. Any code sent directly to the database will be executed. The use of semicolons and comments in fields can end a normal query and allow other commands to be entered. Many databases are poorly set up or maintained and are vulnerable to these types of attacks. And since SQL is one of the most common database types, there are many targets that attackers can choose from. There are ways to prevent SQL injection. The most common is through prepared statements. These statements encapsulate queries and can set types to the parameters that are passed back to the database. This can prevent unwanted code from being passed to the database. It also provides a benefit to the database in increasing query speed. However, as said before, many databases are poorly set up or maintained, and many databases are not secured by proper prepared statements. In this demo, I'm going to be showing how SQL injection can be used to gain the contents of a database. Or more specifically, I'm going to be showing how blind SQL injection can be used. I'm going to be doing this by using a program called SQL Map. This program probes databases and figures out what kind of attacks they are vulnerable to, and then carries out those attacks, and then provides the information back to the attacker. The specifications for this demo: the environment it is running in is Ubuntu 14.04 in VirtualBox. The web server it is using to host the fake login page is on Apache 2. The fake database is set up using MySQL. And as said before, the cracking tool being used is SQL Map. Quick disclaimer: it is illegal to perform SQL injection on any non-consenting party. This demo takes place in a closed environment. So if you're not performing SQL injection on your own sites or servers, or you're not being paid by someone to test the security of their databases, don't perform SQL injection. Alright, first I'm going to show you my login page. It is hosted on my local host. As you can see, it's a basic login page with fields for a username and password. And all it does is pass back a success message if the entries match the ones held in a database, in my database, or it passes back a failed message if they are not. As you can see here, if you don't insert anything, the login fails. Now this works by having a PHP script embedded in this HTML page. I'll show you the code for that now. as you can see here, when the button is pressed, the form launches the PROUCH1 PHP script and passes the values held in its fields to it. Now, the PHP script holds all the information to connect to the database and perform the query on the database. Now, this is a basic PHP script to get information from a database. As you can see, it connects to the database securely, creates a query and inserts the fields into it, executes the statements, and if any rows come back that match whatever was inserted into the fields, it will echo login successful, and if not, it will echo login failed. Now this is a poor example of a prepared statement, but it does connect securely, and it will show you how many databases are vulnerable to this kind of attack. Now on to SQL map. Now, SQL map is a Python-based program. So to run it, you type Python SQL map.py. And from here, to make it simpler, we're going to launch the wizard. And from here, you enter the target of your target URL that you wish to see if it is vulnerable to SQL injection, and if it is, then the wizard will go ahead and test for those vulnerabilities and reveal them to you, along with any information it finds. So the target for us is my test HTML file that I showed you earlier. We're going through this assuming you have searched for no other data and just have a target site in mind. Now here it will ask for the injection difficulty and also basically the level of information you want to gain from it. So to start, we'll go out with normal and basic. And from here, you see it found the parameters it takes in, the types of queries. It also found out the operating system it was running on, the web server it was running on, and it also found the user that is using the database. Now this is all good information, but it doesn't really tell you how to either break into a website or get the information held in the database. So if we run it again, we'll be able to find out a little bit more by upping the settings. This time we'll go with medium and intermediate. This time we got a little more information. Along with the information we got the first time, we were able to find out more information about the database. We have information schema and the test database schema. Inside the test database, we have two tables, login and students. We also find the types of variables and number of columns held in each of these. Now this is useful if you were going to try to insert a new value into the database. You'd have the number of columns you needed to add to the insert statement and also the types to insert. But we still don't know the contents of the database. So once again, we'll run the wizard and step it up one more time. keep the injection difficulty on medium, but turn the enumeration or information up to all. Now when I run this, it might blow past the information held in the database and then start extracting information that's held in the schema of the entire database. So hopefully we'll be able to see what it pulls out. As you see up here, Alright, that went by pretty quick, but I'll screenshot it to show you that it does display the information that is held in the database. Now with this information, we would be able to access or provide authorization for the web page and gain access to it. So in conclusion, is it possible to gain access to the contents of a database using SQL injection? Well, yes and no. With proper prepared statements that both limit the type and clean any code out of fields before it inserts it into a query and sends it into a database will prevent most, if not all, SQL injection. But as I said before, there are many databases that are poorly maintained and do not have these security features. And this is the reason why SQL injection continues to be a major attack today.